What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction based off what the charts are showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about a very bullish catalyst that's coming out for the markets that may cause Tesla and the markets to kind of push up towards the end of the week. And also I'm going to congratulate Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend, Elon Musk, for something very important that he just achieved on his Twitter page. Now, before I break any of this down, before I talk about Elon Musk, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed 6 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And you could always sell these 6 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free in this limited time offer that ends in just 3 days. That's right, there are only 3 days left to get this free money. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, we're down about 0.32% for the day, a little bit green in the after hours, but overall kind of red. And the whole market ended up actually kind of cooling off after the big runs we saw towards the end of last week. And I do believe it's very possible we get kind of like a repeat of what happened last week coming this week. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Now, looking at Tesla, obviously we're kind of respecting this kind of pennant formation. And it looks very similar to what we're seeing in the SPY, in the Nasdaq. Obviously, the SPY pushed up to that 391 range, breaking past 390, which is a good sign. But then we did start to kind of drop off as the day went on, closing down 0.38%. And this almost looks like a bull flag that's forming. Still looks kind of bullish, but I don't think it's going to happen that quickly. It may take a little time. I'm going to show you why I think that. Now, for Nasdaq, it's essentially the same thing. If I actually look at the Nasdaq, you'll notice the Nasdaq has a very, very similar setup. And something very strange in this market is how the SPY, the Nasdaq, the QQQ, Tesla, as of right now, they've been running essentially in unison with one another, and it's just so similar. I mean, it's very impressive to see things like this happen. Very uncommon for the market to be this similar, but it is something that just keeps on repeating itself. Now, same bull flag is forming in the Nasdaq, and to me, it still looks a little bit more bullish, but we do have this gap down here, right? So I want to talk about what you really need to look out for the Nasdaq. So if the Nasdaq kind of trades in this sideways range, which it most likely will, in my opinion, for the remainder of the week until we approach maybe around Wednesday or Thursday, when I think we may actually get a potential breakout. I'm going to show you why I think that specifically in like a few minutes, but let's just talk about the hypotheticals. We have this gap up here for the Nasdaq that's going to take it to 11,750. And I do think it's still more probable we actually fill the gap up here instead of actually dropping down here. So I kind of highlighted this range right here. If the Nasdaq can't necessarily hold that 11,400 range, that's a very key zone. If we can't hold that, we start dropping below that, that's going to cause us to most likely fill the gap down here or come close to doing it. So that is a very important range to look out for. We're not necessarily that close to it, but at the same time, we're not super far. So just something to keep in the back of your minds, although I do see that as being more, or I should say less likely. Now, for the SPY, there's another very key zone that is that 386 range. Now, obviously the SPY pushed up. It looks pretty decent. It held up pretty well. We're just barely in the red by 0.38%, and we're actually kind of green in the after hours. But what's interesting about the SPY is the volume wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't necessarily great, but it wasn't like that horrible. And overall, as we were dropping, we actually held above that 387 range. So the key zone to look out for is that 386. I want to see the SPY hold above that. If we don't, it could actually lead to some bearish price action. Now, as of right now, it hasn't happened, so it does look like the market is going to hold up, and most likely will. And as a result, it may even cause Tesla to hold up too. So what's going on with Tesla? Now, you guys can actually see over the last couple of days, Tesla was actually dropping a little bit, and we got a nice bounce off that 685 range, and we pushed up after that, looking pretty strong. And for me personally, it does look like Tesla's going to hold up pretty well. It almost looks like this has a bull flag too, but overall, it's holding up pretty darn well. So when it comes to this very important zone, and you guys can see it right over here, I want to see this thing hold above that 730 range, but there are moments where we may drop like $1 or $2 below it. That won't be too bad, but hopefully at the lowest it's 725. Now that's a very important zone. If we can't hold that, then 715 would be the next stop. And we also have this gap down here, a very tiny looking gap. Let me zoom into it just to make it look bigger. There's a teeny tiny little gap down here at about 706, 705. It's eventually going to bring Tesla down, but I don't see that happening just yet. I think that Tesla is more likely to actually fill the gap that's up here. And this gap formed quite a bit of time ago. I think it was back around like June. That's where the gap started. And let me actually see if I can find the starting point. It's like right, let me see here. So back in June, early June, okay, Tesla formed this big gap right here to that 775 range. And I do think it's more probable for Tesla to actually fill this gap up here instead of dropping down. And I still think it's looking pretty decent right now. Now, we've held up pretty well, but we need to hold these ranges for us to continue to kind of trade like this and maybe be primed to fill the gap. But there is something that's very bullish that's coming out for the markets, and I do think that this could push us up towards the end of the week. So we have this thing known as rebalancing. And if you don't know what that is, I think I want to make this clear. Rebalancing is the process of realigning the weightings of a portfolio of assets. Rebalancing involves periodically buying or selling assets in a portfolio to maintain an original or desired level of asset allocation or risk. So if we put it this way, the market sold off pretty hard in a way, and we noticed that for the quarter reports that come out, the market doesn't necessarily want everything to look that bad. So it's very possible that these funds, these big hedge funds, when they do present this data to clients and do other things like that, they want their assets to look less red in a sense. So they're going to prop up the market as we approach the end of the quarter just a little bit so that it doesn't look as bad. This means that the quarter end, the second quarter ends at the end of June. And with that said, as the second quarter approaches its end date, the market might actually start to kind of prop up a little bit, push up just a little bit as we approach the 30th. And the 30th is actually going to start on, I think it's on Thursday. So Wednesday to Thursday may be more bullish days for the markets, but I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow is kind of like on the sideways side. So that's essentially how I'm seeing it right now. Very similar to what happened last week as the market was kind of like trading sideways. Then all of a sudden we got that big push on Friday that was almost kind of like unexpected based off what technical indicators were showing. Because right now, if I look at this from a technical basis, we could actually see on the 5-minute, the Bollinger Bands are kind of tightening again for Tesla, like right here and also like right here. So I'm going to look out for some tightening, and I do think we may see a bit of a breakout going into tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, I'm sorry, like Wednesday or Thursday. I think those are going to be more bullish days. And I think tomorrow may more likely be a kind of like a sideways day, maybe somewhat in the green. So that's kind of like how I'm seeing this kind of play out. So going into the future, what am I predicting for Tesla? Well, you have to look out for these key zones. Let's go over the more bearish and then bullish possibilities before I break this down for you. So if we make the chart look like this, zoom out a little bit, I think this is what you need to look out for. So, all right, so I think that Tesla is in a very important zone right now. We're very close to that $730 level of support. I want to actually draw this out for you. So let me bring about my polyline, and you could see this right here, okay? So let's just say hypothetically tomorrow, the market ends up dropping, and we don't necessarily always know exactly to what degree or what pieces of news come out. If that were to happen, what you have to look out for, that is Tesla trying to hold that 730. We did spend almost all of today above this key range, but it is possible for us to drop a little lower than that and still be okay. So you'd want to see a balance between 730 and 725. If that is not the case, if something causes the market to drop, this thing is going to head to that 710 to 715 range. Specifically, $711 was also a zone where Tesla got a bounce once. So just wanted to prepare you guys for that. Am I saying this will happen? The answer is no, but it's something you should be prepared for just in case the market does end up seeing some bearish price action. Now, is that guaranteed? No, like I said, and I don't necessarily think that that is what is going to happen. I think that this is very unlikely, and I think we're more likely to actually see something very different. So what I'm noticing is we're kind of green in the after hours. And when the whole market is kind of red like this, it's not uncommon for us to see a bit of a bounce going into tomorrow. So we might see a little bit of kind of sideways, maybe some green, maybe a bit of a green day for tomorrow based off that. So what could happen is Tesla might push up into opening, just like how we typically do. And we might push to that 740, 745 zone. And we might get a rejection off that, a little lower than before. And I do think it's very possible we kind of trade sideways throughout the day like this, stay around the 730 zone. And I think that overall, the favor is a little bit more in the bulls. So the bulls have a little bit more favor. And I do think that it's more likely we actually close slightly in the green, kind of sideways, like I said before. But I do think it's more likely we see even more bullish price action as we approach Wednesday/Thursday, as big institutions are rebalancing their funds. So overall, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up closing around that 740 range, maybe a little bit lower than 740, kind of in the green. And that's essentially what I'm predicting for this one. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in the market is the fact that, look, right now things are kind of capricious, but I do think that some gap fills on the way up are a little bit more probable before we start the month of July. And big things are going to be announced in July, so be prepared for that. But anyways, I am predicting this right here, the line right here that I'm clicking on. I think Tesla's more likely to do this than actually drop down. And I do really hope that that 730 range of support holds us up. And I don't see the market dropping too hard. In fact, like I said before, I see more bullish action towards the end of this week due to rebalancing. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about that's very important is something about Elon Musk. He didn't necessarily tweet about Tesla or like anything in particular quite recently, and he has been a little bit quieter on his Twitter page because of the fact that he's probably busy or something else like that. But at the end of the day, he achieved that 100 million follower mark on his Twitter page. So specifically, he has over 100 million. That's very, very good news for him because at the end of the day, he's very influential. A lot of people are very interested in what he's doing and what he's saying, and his opinions are really getting spread to millions and millions of people's lives every single day. So huge congratulations to Elon Musk. He has made so many achievements. People are very inspired by him, and now that he has that 100 million follower mark, we can't wait and see what the future holds and what else he has to announce. So people are excited. They love to hear from him. They love to hear his opinions, and I cannot wait for what the future holds. With that said and done, thank you for listening. This is essentially what my prediction is. Please have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.